Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today we'll be going over 10 things to watch down the stretch of the college football season. So Selection Sunday is in 3 weeks, and we have the end of the regular season approaching, as well as the conference tournaments leading up to Selection Sunday. So my number one thing to watch out for, and these are in no particular order, they're just 10 things to watch out for, is who will come out on top of the SEC. There's really two options. Obviously, you could have a surprise team out of any conference. But the two main big names this season have been Auburn and Kentucky. Auburn recently lost to Arkansas, and Kentucky recently lost to Tennessee. Both losses were on the road. Both teams have been very, very good this season. I think both are top 5 caliber teams. Both could end up battling for a 1 seed on Selection Sunday. Kentucky has a huge road win over Kansas, and Auburn's consistently been beating their competition. So they're both very good, and that's the first thing to watch out for. My second thing to watch out for, will anyone pull away in the Big 12? So right now there's 4 ranked teams in the Big 12. Kansas, Baylor, Texas Tech, and Texas. Texas is good, but they've been inconsistent. Baylor was swept by Texas Tech, but they only sit a game and a half back from Kansas, tied with Texas Tech. So even though they were swept, they're still in the same position in the Big 12 as Texas Tech. Kansas has the 1.5 game lead over both those schools. The Big 12 is going to have a great tournament. Kansas is the leader. However, they don't have a easy schedule. They're going to probably have to face one of those ranked teams in the Big 12 tournament unless they all get upset. And they have Baylor and Texas later in the season. So it's not going to be easy for Kansas. The Big 12 is one of the best conferences in college football, and I think it's going to show down the stretch. I don't really think we're going to see a clear dominant winner. I think Kansas is the best team. However, I still think they're going to drop another game before the end of the season. My third thing, who's the best in the Big 10? So Purdue, Wisconsin, and Illinois all sit with half a game of each other. The Big 10 could get potentially a ton of teams. Right now, ESPN, I think, has 9 getting into the tournament. So 5 are really locks to get into the tournament, in my opinion. Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. I think Rutgers is just about not locked up, but they're definitely good. They're trending in the right direction. They've had 4 wins over ranked opponents. And they still have other games such as Purdue and I think Wisconsin. We're going to get to Rutgers a little bit later, I think. Yes, we're going to get to Rutgers later. And the 4 teams, the 3 tied for the top spot, or just about tied for the top spot in the Big 10 are Purdue, who's 2-1 against a combination of the Illini and the Badgers, with 1 game still against Wisconsin. Wisconsin 1-1 against the combination of the other 2, with still having to play Purdue, and Illinois is 1-2 against the other 2. Oh, I combined 3 and 4 right there. 4 was how many teams will get into the tournament, and 3 was the leader of the Big 10. I kind of combined those. However, just a little bit more on the Big 10 getting teams into the tournament. Michigan and Iowa are also potential bubble teams, and they could potentially make the tournament. So on to number 5, because I kind of combined 3 and 4 without realizing. Have Memphis and SMU made the American competitive again? Houston was cruising along, having a great season, when they just suddenly dropped 2 in a row against Memphis and SMU. And they lost to Memphis when Memphis was without their star, Amani Bates. I think definitely Memphis and SMU could potentially cause some drama down the stretch of the season, creating a few interesting bubble scenarios. I think Memphis could get in as a bubble team. I think Memphis has a chance to get in as a bye without having to play in the first 4. SMU could also, we could also see them in the first 4, but I would expect them to be one of the first 8 out if they're not in the tournament. unless they have a really bad showing in the American tournament. But I think these two teams have, at least recently, it appears to close the gap against Houston and made it a little bit more competitive. Number 6. Could Providence or Villanova pull away from each other? They have a big upcoming game in the beginning of March. They're separated by half a game in the Big East. Villanova just beat them on Tuesday. I think the winner is guaranteed. The winner of the Big East tournament, assuming it's one of these two teams, Villanova or Providence, will be guaranteed a 4 seed. I actually think they're both guaranteed at least a 4 seed. With the winner of the Big East, if it's keep saying Big 10, Big 12. Sorry, we're talking about the Big East. But if one of these two teams wins, we could potentially be talking about a serious conversation for having one of these two teams as a 2 or 3 seed. And it's not like these teams have only played each other. There's a lot of good competition in the the Big East. I did it again. They face Creighton, who's a bubble team right now. Marquette, UConn, and Xavier all look like they're gonna get in to the tournament. So they've played some pretty good teams. Number 7. This one's really just focused on a individual team, and it's the UCLA Bruins. The preseason number 2 team has lost 3 of their last 5. They lost at Arizona, at Arizona State, and at USC. Yes, at Arizona and USC are both very tough. However, they did lose to USC without their leading scorer, Isaiah Mobley. And they lost to a not great Arizona State team in triple overtime. They're going to have some tough games down the stretch. They have Arizona State again, USC again, and Oregon again, who they lost to. So, at one point, it looked like the Bruins were going to have a one seed in March, and now it looks like they could potentially be sliding, depending on how these games go, they could slide maybe back to a 6 or 7. I think 7's a little low. I think 6 would probably be their 4. Number 8, could Davidson walk up the Atlantic 10? Davidson is atop of the Atlantic, and that would create an interesting bubble discussion should they lose the Atlantic. If they don't win the Atlantic, that would actually give the Atlantic the best chance of getting 2 teams into the big dance, with the other being either Dayton. Actually, it really doesn't matter, because the winner of every tournament or every conference is, as I'm sure you know, guaranteed a spot in March Madness or an automatic qualifier. But I think Davidson has the potential to lock up the the Atlantic 10. But it's going to be something to do and see if they can close the door on that. Number 9, can Rutgers finish off the season securing a spot in the tournament? They could have 3 potential quad 1 wins more against Michigan, Purdue, and Wisconsin. I think Rutgers is going to get into the tournament even if they drop those 3 games. Michigan, they may fall, maybe not getting a bye anymore. But if they lose to Purdue and Wisconsin, they're both great teams. They've already beaten Purdue once. So if they drop those 2 teams, I think those 2 games, they can still potentially even get a bye in the tournament. And my 10th thing, will anyone challenge Gonzaga in the WCC or just as a whole for the first seed in the NCAA tournament? Gonzaga's been easily beating their WCC competition. They've gotten some other good teams in the Western Coast Conference, but they're nowhere near the level that Gonzaga's playing. The one team I do think, while this team did lose earlier this week, I do think they could definitely have a good game against Gonzaga, and that is Kentucky. I think Oscar Tshiebwe would provide a good matchup with him as a big, as well as Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme for Gonzaga. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see that in the national championship game or somewhere in the tournament. Both teams have potential to be a number 1 seed, but that's my 10th thing. Will anyone be able to challenge Gonzaga in the WCC or just throughout the country leading up to March Madness? So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Comment if you agree with any of these, disagree with any of my takes, and why. And I will see you probably Sunday night for my weekly college basketball predictions.